Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Do 200th episode version.
Look at you.
You did your thing, I did my thing, and I just spit all over my screen when I did that.
That's pretty telling of who we are and what we do, is that yours is this big like production at the start. Mine was just putting the 200th logo in the opening graphic.
You have said nothing more accurate in all the episodes than that statement.
It only took me 200 episodes to come up with something completely accurate. That's not bad.
Well, please, with that, Tom, continue.
Well, we're here. 200th day, 200th episode of today's Antidote, something Bob and I started on March 18th, actually. And I went back and kind of looked at that. What's interesting is we're both in different places. I was at my kitchen table. Bob was down in his basement office. And we just decided that we were going to put together this show. It was the start of the pandemic, and we knew that everyone was going to be going crazy, or starting to go crazy, and also thought, wow, this will be over in a couple of weeks. We'll be back to normal before long. And I think what we both understood was that was probably not the case. And given that, there were times when people were going to struggle, and they were going to really be challenged by what we were facing. And that if we could provide them with one thing every morning. So since March 18th, we have been on every business day, and then we added Saturdays, even a few holidays, to try to be available to help people find one thing to help them move forward. Whether they use that today, tomorrow, next week, next year, we hope that it is added to their knowledge, experience, and perspective, so that they can be more ready to move down their own unique pathway. Today, our topic all week has been about empowering others. And I think in some regards, and it's playing the long game, right? And so I think in some regards, that's what this show is doing. It's playing the long game and empowering others to move forward. We have hopefully, for someone like Tim, who has probably watched probably at least 90% of the episodes, he has picked up, what would that be? 181 thing that could hopefully help him at somewhere down the line. And so I think we have played the long game, and in a way to try to help others move forward. How's that for an opening, Bob?
That was awesome. Tom, I did some homework because I wanted to figure out what 200 episodes equaled. So I went to the Internet Movie Database, and they list TV shows that have had 200 or more episodes. This is a real list. I mean, when you think about 200 episodes of TV shows, they only do like 20 a year, 22 a year, so it takes a while. Gunsmoke was at the top. They did 635 episodes. That's crazy. The Simpsons are still going. They're over 500. Law and Order went for 12 years and 22 years, 400 some odd episodes. On the list also, Bonanza, Dallas, Knots Landing, Law and Order, Hawaii Five-0. Who knew? Cheers, Frasier, Married with Children, MASH, Happy Days, Friends, CSI Miami somehow, and Jag. Remember Jag? Jag was a favorite.
I liked Jag. Jag was a good show.
Jag was a fun show, which led to, Jag led to NCIS.
Right.
It was a spinoff.
Yeah.
MASH led to, MASH was better, yes. Although younger people don't like MASH. They don't, that humor doesn't resonate. Yeah.
No, it's different.
Yeah, different. But the one that spans the ages, which gets me, is The Office. My nieces and nephews love The Office, even when they're like 15 years old. And it's like, you don't even understand the humor.
Well, because the humor is
Office.
so silly that I think you know, there's the Office humor, and then there's the just silly, deadpan Michael Scott nonsense humor.
Yeah.
So I think that sort of transcends itself a little bit. And the setup is not unlike Cheers or you know, even MASH or whatever. People can't relate to those. The look of them is so time sensitive, right?
Yes.
And yet The Office is just this very basic, simple office, which you probably could have seen 50 years ago. You could find today, and likely, if we ever get out of a pandemic, you'll see it 50 years from now. So that
Yes.
sort of transcends the time in some regards.
You know, Tom, the thing that really strikes me most, beyond the just amazement that what started as an idea has grown so exponentially. I mean, we've seen things that I can't imagine. Like yesterday when we were having the online chat here during the program with Carrie and really helping her with an issue that was facing her that day. It was like, this is so awesome. When we started this, we didn't know exactly where we were going. And if you go back and watch the first couple of episodes, what you just told me, I called us misfits. We didn't have the renegade language yet. I called the people who were trying to do their own entrepreneurial thing misfits. And in some ways, I still believe that to be true.
I think that that's how others see them.
Okay.
I don't think we called people
Okay.
renegades misfits. I think we said that's what they may appear to be in people on the outside because they are so outside of the norm.
And we went from that discussion in our first episode to the idea of renegades to so much more. And I think what I'm really proud of is we didn't prescribe exactly what we were going to do for 200 episodes and say on episode 9, we're going to do this. On episode 12, we're going to do this. Episode 196 has to be this because we want to get here. What we started with was we want to help ourselves. We were very selfish, both of us. We wanted to help each other. And then we wanted to help anyone else who listened or watched. And we didn't really know who that was. And I don't know about you, but there are days where I see a name come up in the comments or someone likes it. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that person. Wow, that's it. I can't believe that we register on that person's radar for the day. And I think that's what helped us have success so far is we've gone where it's led us. We haven't dragged it to where we want it to go. And I think that's the lesson in the long game that we have to think about is in the long run, if you do what's true to you, and this is true to us, we're two schmoes doing this at 8 a.m. We don't have a script down to the second. We don't have an agenda past more than about 26 seconds from now. And if someone puts the right comment up, we're going to go right off track. We're going to have a discussion. We're going to try to help people with where they are. And then whatever comes from that, and we've got the Renegade Success Network that I can tell you we weren't talking about at the very beginning. We've had some events. We've figured out a way to do networking that really works. We've helped people. We've started doing the laser solution sessions, which wasn't on our radar screen. And the long game to me is not about, oh, if I just keep at it long enough, it will work. It's constantly trying new things. There are things that we tried that we no longer do. If you remember in the early days, we did that Friday afternoon live thing where we planned out the next week.
Yes.
What a debacle. Who would watch that? But we had an idea and we tried it. And there's someone out there going, oh, wow, yeah, I remember that. I wonder what happened to that. We tried it. We stopped it. We didn't make a big deal of it. And no one said a word.
Right.
And I think that's the other thing about the long game is you can try things and stop. And if you stop it, you care more than anyone else. We care more than anyone else. No one's sitting there going, I can't believe they're not doing that Friday live thing anymore. It like changed my entire life. No one's doing that. Not even you or me.
Right. No, and I think that what's interesting about it is, it's funny. I think that while we didn't have a script, we did have an idea of what we wanted to do, what the end result might be, or the goal, or our vision, or our mission, or whatever it was. And I think what we realized is, which is so similar to what we do in business, is that we take the next step. And we take the next step and we evaluate, okay, what's real right now? Okay, based on that, what's the next step? And then what's the next step? And I think that allows people to continue to move forward. And it's funny, I was thinking as you were talking, if I was in my office with my nice green screen and background, there would be a little sign over this shoulder that says, do something today that your future self will be proud of. And I got thinking about that, that popped into my head of like, you know what, looking back on that day when we started, I had no idea. And I knew that if we started it, there was going to be something beneficial for it. And as I look back now in sort of a reflective mode on what that was, why we did it, we didn't do it to think, okay, at this point we're going to be here and have gone out through all of the different things that you talked about. We did it because we thought it was good at the time. And as it turned out to be something that was great for us, for hopefully a few other people. And I think that's sort of the key, is that when we take that next step, there is that potential that down the road, we're going to look back and say, I'm so glad I took that step, whatever it might be. You started a business, you took a new job, you left the job that wasn't serving you. You
had a hard discussion with your boss or your employee,
Right. Absolutely. And I think when we take that next step, we have opportunities. Things change. It goes back to what's real. If we stand in place and don't do anything, yeah, there are going to be some changes to our knowledge, experience, and perspective. And when we take that step, we move forward, we turn our head, we try something different, all of that changes. And so what becomes real is very different. And I think the beauty is that the more you take those steps, the more you play that long game and just how do I keep moving forward, the more you truly do empower others. The more you provide an opportunity for them to figure out how to do their next step, whatever that might be. And I think it's such an interesting, the way this week has gone, and that we would end with this 200 episode on Friday, that I really think that in some ways,
which we didn't plan.
Really?
That's the amazing thing. Talk about serendipity.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is a great movie with Kate Beckinsale. If you like Kate Beckinsale, Serendipity is a great movie. There you have it. My movie pick for the week.
That's all right. Now you get to move forward. So,
hey, can I throw some comments in, Tom?
Sure.
Tim says, I'll have to review, but I seem to remember, there it is, hit the right button. I seem to remember Bob calling people misfits, but there's nothing wrong with being a misfit. It just means you don't fit into the paradigm. I have to say, though, renegade is a much better term. Yes, I agree. Tim also said he refutes us. I said we were schmoes. He says we are not. You two are neither. And Keith has joined us today, and he says the more steps, the further you go. Welcome, Keith. Great to see you. I hope you're doing well. A fellow tall man. Keith and I are in the room sometimes. He's 6'9", I'm 6'6". He towers over me. I can't even begin to tell you what that's like, Tom. I do not have anyone tower over me, and it is the most humbling and discomforting experience that I can tell you about. And I'm being dead serious.
So now you're playing the tall game rather than the long game? Is that what's going on here?
Nice.
Tried to, throw a little bit of humor in there while you were reliving those memories of challenge. Anyhow.
Challenge. I love it.
Yeah, I think that it's an interesting, Keith's point is interesting. The more steps you take, the further you go. And I agree. And I would also offer that you don't always go further. I think it's the more you change, the more you're influenced. Um, yes, you can move further along whatever the path is, although the path may not be straight, right? Sometimes the best steps we take are a step backwards. To look at, and not as a backward, I guess just a step, just in a different direction that allows us to really go back and revisit where we were and what might we need to gain to help us move forward. And so I think it's an interesting perspective about each step that we take, and how does that not only move ourselves forward, but I guess going back to our topic, how does it empower others? How does it help others figure out how to do that?
Tom, I'm sorry, I'm reading the comments, and I should put them up because it's not fair. Keith says you guys are doing a great job, and congratulations on the 200th episode. And I know Keith and his partner Rebecca are doing a really great program, the Surefire Show, right? Or no, how do they say it, Tom? You do it really well. Come on, go ahead.
It's the Surefire Show.
No, it's more like Surefire. I think I got that. I'll have to check with Keith, but I think I got that right. And then Keith says, thanks for mentioning his evolved state, his 6'9" frame, I think he's talking about. The other thing, Tom, I want to add in that I think is instructive for people is the idea that when you and we have not stopped, there's never been a day where one of us goes, you know what, we're as good as we're going to get. We've got it perfect. No more change. We've always had, hey, what about this? What about this? What about this? But every time we've had a what about this, we've always put it against what's our core mission? What's that thing we want to do? We want to help small business owners, business leaders, nonprofit professionals figure out one thing, how to get better with their next step, to figure out that next step. So if something one of us suggests, and I have a million ideas a week probably, if I have an idea, we put it against that and say, does this take that further or does it not? And we've rejected many ideas, or we've said that's not right now. Yeah, that's down the road, or we forget about ideas. I think we've forgotten about probably more ideas than we'll ever implement. But we don't just come up with an idea and go, hey, let's, I don't know, get a blimp. What would we do with the blimp? Just popped into my head. Yeah, it'd be a great marketing tool, and it probably cost us a couple $100,000 and a pilot and all that. And it could probably get a whole bunch of people to watch our program. But it doesn't fit our mission.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it does. It doesn't, I think we go back to does it help someone's knowledge, experience, or perspective?
Right.
How does that help them move forward?
And that's what's gotten us to this point of 200 episodes, is being committed to the same mission as day one. And also, frankly, we are talking to each other so often. Much of what we're saying is what I would say to you if we were having coffee, and much of what you say to me, including the sessions where you help me figure out, all my neuroses and issues. That's what you would do if we were sitting at a coffee shop. We've just chosen to put it in front of people so that they can start to experience it and see that there's a pathway forward. That's the real part of this. We talked for the last couple of weeks about being real. I've never been more real in my life than when we do these programs in the morning. In fact, I have days where I am just cringing. Like, no one's ever going to talk to me again. I can't believe. Like I just said that I'm intimidated by Keith's height. That's inside me. And I think I think that's part of the formula for success for any endeavor, not us. I'm not saying us. I'm not saying that's the key here. Well, that is the key here, but that's the key for any kind of endeavor. You've got to be you. You can't be the you think the person wants you to be, because then you start being the you to someone one way, you be another you to another person, and a third you to a third person. I've done it, Tom. Oh, it's exhausting.
Right. Well, and I think one of the things is that it's that to me is the beauty of these conversations that carries over into the Ring of Renegades Facebook group, where people can feel like they are empowered to share where they're at and not worried about, is this going to look bad? Is somebody going to think differently of me? It's more about like, I'm sharing this because I'm struggling with it. And I want to help you or someone else move forward or help myself figure it out. And I think that's half the challenge, is that we get so worried about what others are going to think or how it's going to make us feel or what's going to happen, or not willing to be vulnerable. Yet when it's vulnerable, that's when you have the opportunity to grow. You have the opportunity to learn. You change your knowledge or your experience, and now it moves you forward a little bit. So what you're dealing with is a little bit different.
I'm going to put some more comments up. We've got Keith said, that's why people love your authenticity. You keep it real, unlike many folks on video today. That's really kind words, truly. That means a lot to me. I know it means a lot to you, Tom.
Of course.
I also, Carrie says, Carrie, who we were talking with yesterday, this is awesome. I am a misfit and proud of it. That might be my favorite comment in all 200 episodes, because that's an owning of the fact that it's perfectly fine to be who and what she is. Whatever that looks like today.
You remember the Christmas show with the Island of Misfit Toys?
Yes. Yes.
They end up being the toys that everybody really wanted at the end. They were different. Wasn't the same old.
And then I'm gonna put up this. I'm trying to get most mornings we get this comment from Frank, and we don't share it. But what I like to see is how many O's and M's Frank puts. And one of these days I'm going to talk to him to try to understand what more O's and more M's mean, because I have a hunch that there's some logic to this, and that if I see like 30 M's, that means Frank is in a really fired up mood, or he's really mad at the world. And I've been following this now for probably 160 episodes, and I'm always trying to interpret what Frank's mind is, his mental state, based on the O's and the M's. How crazy is that? Keith also has a quote, "Be here now," which is awesome. And then Michael says, "It's your inner fear that holds you back. Can't be scared to step outside the boundary and go for it." I love that. And I'm trying to, I'm trying to hit the comments and figure out who's saying them. Carrie says, "I used to have a double life. Today I'm transparent and authentic." And then she later says, "At the end of the day, people love hearing from me." And we have a comment from Liz, who I think you know really well.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, I do.
She's somewhere else in the house, I bet.
Yes.
Frank is saying understanding in the same sentence doesn't happen. Okay.
You have to understand Frank to love him, and sometimes he is a guy with a motor going all the time. He is a renegade. There is no doubt about that.
Don't you really think, Tom, at the end of the day, and we're probably ruining this at 200 episodes, I'm giving in the secret, and it just hit me. Every single person at their core is a renegade. It's whether we embrace it like Carrie is, or we withhold it and put it in the corner and go, "Oh, so I hate this job. I hate doing this thing. I don't want to do this. This feels so uncomfortable." It's funny. I've had some tough discussions in the last couple of weeks with clients and clients' employees about things. They haven't been as tough as they would have been for me 2, 5, 10 years ago when I was being masked a different way. They're just, "Hey, this is what you do. This is who I am." And the result has been that people are like, "Wow, yeah, okay. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I never thought about that." So when we become our authentic self, our real, with our knowledge, experience, and perspective, that's when great things start to happen. And they start to happen in the most unusual ways. And even some of the things happening this morning are unusual to me.
Well, it's
I'm
all new,
I'm just
right?
embracing it, right?
Everything is new. Every day is different. Every minute is different. And I think that's what each and every one of us are different because we experience things differently. So what is real for me is very different than what's real for you, even though we're on the same show, watching the same comments, having the same conversation. There's a different reality for both of us because we're coming to it with different knowledge, experience, and perspective. And I think the challenge is that if you choose to embrace the real you and not feel like you have to be someone else, now you have the opportunity not only to grow, but how you empower others to do the same thing. It's when you choose that you're going to go stand out from the crowd, that hopefully you inspire others, or at least others see it. And as an example, decide, maybe this game that I have been playing of trying to be 2 people, 3 people, 5 people, whatever it might be, to depending on the audience I'm in front of, that's not what works for me anymore. And because I'm watching someone else do it, I am able to choose to do that way. It's funny. We talked about Frank. One of the things I love about Frank. Frank is himself all the time. And what I love about that is, and he's kind of a goofy guy. I mean, you haven't met him in person, and I love him.
I haven't met many of these people in person, Tom. There's this pandemic.
Correct. And I think what happens is that
You're killing me.
he's real. He's who he is. And I think that allows others to be like, you know what, if he can do it, maybe I'm not real in the exact same way, but how can I do it and feel comfortable with where I'm at?
Hey, Tom, why don't you read that comment for us? That's another comment from Carrie.
I smile through your whole show. You guys make me feel so good and start my day off happy and motivated. Honestly, that to me, that's why I started. That's why we started this, is we wanted someone to be able to say, you know what? There's a ton of stuff going on out in the world. And there are opportunities for us to be happy, to move forward, and to figure out how we start our day off and make it the best day that we can possibly make out of it. And not judge it as was it better than yesterday or harder than yesterday or easier. It's just today. And take it for what it is and figure out how we learn from it so that as we move forward, it influences who and what we are.
Tom, what's that one thing today that's going to help us with the long game?
Oh, heavens. I think it is that that if you keep being yourself, not only will you be truer to who and what you are, I think you empower others to do the same thing. I think when you change all the time, people tend to see that. And then they start to wonder, well, if that's what that person's doing, I should do the same thing. So if we are being true to who we are and showing that and showing up real where we're at all the time, play the long game in being who we are, that is going to empower others to do the same. So that's my one thing.
I couldn't add anything to it. I do want to say we would not be here every morning doing this were it not for the incredible people who listen in, who participate. The comments we get each day are so insightful, so thoughtful, and so helpful to us understanding the world better. I know it's helped me in my business exponentially. I know it's helped you in your business. It's helped us in our shared business. And it's helped us to really, frankly, become more of who our authentic self, our real us is. I know I become more real with each day we do this. And I'm just thrilled for the opportunity, Tom. I was just thinking we'll get to 300 episodes, God willing, right around our 1-year anniversary.
Wow. Interesting.
And I look forward to the journey. I don't see it stopping anytime soon for a variety of reasons. And if the pandemic ended tomorrow, I would convince you to keep going.
That wouldn't have to convince me very hard.
I know. That's
and
what I like.
You know what I think about is, you mentioned the 300th episode, and that's a destination. And at the same time, the destination to me is almost like, and I think people have said this before. I'm sure there are great quotes out there about it. Is the destination is one thing, and that could be great. How we get there, the journey we take to get there, in some regards, that's actually what I'm looking forward to. Like 300 is a nice number. 200 was a nice number. Okay. What I'm looking for is what will happen all along the way between now and episode 300. And, what is real today will not be real at episode 300 for us or probably for anyone who listens to this. And I think that to me is exciting. It gets me thinking about not only episode 300, but, all the other episodes to come and what it might look like in the long run.
And we have created something at the end of this month, a 4-day workshop series designed to help you figure out how to be more real with yourself, what that looks like, and how that translates into more customer opportunities, more sales, more just enjoying what you're trying to achieve. So, Tom, do you want to say anything, or do you just want to play that video?
Yeah, I'll close it out. I'll just say thanks again to everybody for listening. Again, if you are not a member of the Ring of Renegades Facebook group, this is our conversations inside of it. Please join us. Just go to Facebook, search for Ring of Renegades. It's a private group. You just have to ask to be invited. Tell us why you're a renegade, and you can be a part of great discussions, conversations, and be in a space that allows you to be who you are. And that there are going to be people around you who are going to help support that and help you figure out how to move forward. And otherwise, we'll see you here tomorrow morning, actually, for episode 201.
That's our weekly recap, if you haven't been with us.
Correct.
Where we explain what we learned over the course of the week. And I find those episodes are really one that I like the most each week, because it's like I have to think it all I put it all together into all the pieces of the puzzle into a new picture, and it's like, oh wow. So check that out. The other thing, Tom, that we have for people, see, we're throwing a lot at them, but that's good. We have the Renegade Way newsletter. We do this newsletter each week, and it includes some insights that Tom and I have had beyond what's going on with the program. Often it's sparked by the program, but I gotta say, those Renegade Ways, when I read the ones you do, I always get wow, I didn't know that. And I hope you get that when you read the ones that I write. And so we rotate back and forth who writes it. If you've never seen the Renegade Way newsletter and you want to get it, we send it electronically. Just get us your email address. We will add you to the list. There's no charge for that. It's another service we provide.
All right. I think it's time. We've offered them a lot.
We have.
It'll be our longest show ever. Crazy. Anyhow, we're playing the long game. Woo-hoo. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for being part of our lives and our group. We will see you inside the Ring of Renegade Facebooks. If not, we'll see you tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Time for our next edition of today's Antidote. Have a great day, everyone.
What's your next destination? 2020 was a challenging year for business owners, leaders, and nonprofits. Whether it was a boom, a bust, or pivoting to something new, on December 31st we will have reached a destination along our pathway. Now it is time to chart your next destination with new knowledge, experience, and perspective. Given all that has happened this year, are you clear on what is real for your audience? What to say, how to say it, and where to say it. No matter how your year went, being clear on these things is critical. Yet setting long-term goals during these times is challenging and confusing. Who can predict what things will look like in a year or 6 months? Charting our next destination provides focus, clarity, and direction. On December 28th to 31st, join our workshop where we will help you identify what your audience needs, how to speak to them, and where to find them. Can't make one day? Don't worry, it will all be recorded and available early afternoon each day. This interactive and collaborative effort will have you ready to take your next step. Register now and jumpstart your 2021. Chart your next destination and your unique pathway to success.